Hey, what's up guys? It's Narrative Shark here today. So today's stories, we're going to be talking about Urbex horror, scary stories. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. First story is by this guy called Sadbutfalse. You will all be linked down in the description for credit, don't worry. There used to be this storm drain opening near the elementary school that went into Corrado. All through elementary school, kids would dare each other to go in, but nobody ever really did. A few kids stood a few feet near, but that's about it. A couple years later in middle school, my friend and I decided to venture in and map it out. We found that it went clear under the school, under the soccer field and baseball diamond, and into a neighbourhood. The passage narrowed, so we 7th graders at the time had to crawl and drag ourselves along. But it eventually opened up until these big rooms with ladders leading up to manhole covers 40 to 50 feet up. We would bring flashlights and notebooks and try to map out all the side tunnels. It was honestly a ton of fun. Once we were fairly far in 15 minutes of crawling, after walking a little less than half a mile, there was a super sketchy looking adult man and his massive dog. We didn't hear him and we stumbled upon him without ever having the thought someone else would be down here. We hightailed it out of there and didn't go back for quite some time. Alright, so time for this next story, so story 2. This one is by Bkoster85, let's get straight into it. In 2016 I planned to explore an abandoned distillery in the middle of the woods in nowhere, Kentucky for the first time. It was freezing cold and still dark as I walked through the woods at like 5 AM. As I got closer and the sun started to come up, I started to see the outline of the building. My light revealed a crumbling plywood board leaning against a tree with the words, "Stay the hell out," sloppily spray painted on it, but other than that the place was wide open. I knew there was a farm nearby, but other than that this place was isolated. After crouching down in the woods for a little while until it wasn't completely dark, I entered the first building. I thought I could faintly smell something foul, but because of my allergies, my sense of smell wasn't at its best and I brushed it off. The place was massive, and after shooting lots of pictures, I started making my way through the other 4 buildings. I kept hearing weird sounds that might freak other people out, but I was an experienced explorer. I was still kinda on the edge and nervous because I've never been here before. The smell started getting worse until I could really notice. Finally, I climbed up the staircase with several steps missing and entered the final building. When I flipped my light on, it revealed tons of graffiti on the walls, which was surprising because there's practically none anywhere else. There are wood pallets everywhere and small bullet shells scattered on the ground. I noticed a pair of old boots and clothes, but they looked like they'd been there for a while. I noticed an old chalkboard on the wall from when the distillery was still active and some weird stuff written on it, but kept going. And the smell, it was terrible. At this point I started walking around more curious than anything else, not worried about photography or anything else. The pallets were stacked maybe 5 feet tall and rounded a corner in some sort of maze and stopped. To that point I'd never had anything crazy happen while exploring, but I knew I'd finally found a horror story. There was a big open space in the pallets with blood smudged everywhere and bugs everywhere. There were hunks of car cases and a pallet stack making a short table, or altar, and I was mortified. Further inspection revealed it was some sort of animals, but regardless I walked out of there as the sun had finally come up and didn't look back. Long story short, found an apparent animal sacrificing ritual in the distillery in the woods. Alright, time for the last story, story 3. Alright, straight into this because I don't know how to pronounce their name. This incident happened last year. We visited an abandoned hotel. It was the second time I was visiting a famous Urbex location, and photography in general was still very new for me. The hotel was situated next to a busy road, so we had to time it right so no one would see us enter the building. First, we walked around the complex to search for possible entrances. There was a dirt road hidden by the trees next to the hotel where we could crawl underneath the fence, but a man and woman were coming our way, so we decided to walk around another time. We could finally crawl under the fence and we sprinted into the building. We were just beginning to unpack our gear and suddenly the same man and woman showed up behind us, looking shocked to find us there. I was already mentally prepared myself for the fact that we had already been caught when the woman suddenly asked, "What is this? Are you curious?" In that sweet auntie kind of way. I answer yes, and suddenly they both go to another room while they're whispering to each other. They then start to each go their separate ways. She went downstairs and he went upstairs. They didn't have any cameras with them. They left and we were done exploring downstairs, so we wanted to go upstairs. We noticed that the stairs that the man had previously used were partly caved in and we didn't trust him, although he went up there without a single doubt. We then decided to leave through the same way that we came in. Slightly bummed that we only got to see a part of the hotel. My friend then noticed a ladder at the side of the building that led to a balcony. She really wanted to go, but then I noticed a car at the opposite side of the road, driving very slowly and then stopping. I felt like I was being watched, so suddenly start to protest along the lines of, "Hey, we shouldn't do this. The sun's already setting and I'm afraid of heights." The next day I read an article on the internet that the place was set on fire around an hour after we left. I swear to God that experience gave me a good scare. It was very coincidental. That's another location that we have visited together. It was also set on fire. Alright, that is the end of the video about 3 true horror scary Urbex stories. Make sure you guys subscribe and like the video. Submit your stories down to my Gmail, which is linked down in the description, and I'll catch you guys next time. Take care.